Welcome back to Celebrity Radio. It's Alex Belfield talking to some of the world's biggest stars, some of the most talented people, and we tick both of those boxes today with Marco Pierre White. How are you?
Hello, how are you?
Well, I'm delicious, thank you. I've just spent an hour with you chatting about everything and all sorts, and it's so thrilling because I've watched you for so long and you're so brilliant at what you do, and you just get on with it, don't you? You're not interested in the nonsense and shenanigans.
Well, I suppose I've got to thank my dear father for that. For the simple reason is when I was a young boy, he always taught me to be myself. He always taught me to roll up my sleeves, to do my job. And that's what I've always done, really, my job. And I don't try to be anything but a cook. I'm not a celebrity, I'm not a talent. I'm no one special, I'm like everybody else in this world. What I crave is ordinary, which I said to you earlier, is I come to work and I do my job. And my job today, really, if I'm honest, is inspiring the young, like having the catering students come and visit me this afternoon and show me respect and kindness. And I only hope that my stories and my philosophies and my thoughts inspire them. The last thing I said to them today is a story is more important than a recipe. A recipe can confuse you, but a story can inspire you. And if we're all brutally honest with ourselves, it's the stories that people told us when we were young which inspired us. And, when I was a young boy, I had that privilege of working with people like the great Michael Lawson at the Box Tree, the great owners of the Box Tree, Mr. Reed and Mr. Long, Ken Lamb the baker, Albert Roux, Pierre Kaufman, Nicolas Denis, the great Raymond Blanc. But what did they really teach me? Was how to tell stories, how to inspire people. That's what's important. A recipe, as I say, it can confuse.
It reminds me of something that Brian Clough said to me many years ago when I was just starting in the business. He said, just remember, son, nobody will ever remember what you say but how you make them feel. And I thought that was so profound. It's a bit like that with a dining experience, isn't it? Or just sitting opposite somebody like yourself. You don't remember the intricacies of it, you just remember how it made you feel.
For me, it's all about the emotional impact. The impact a person has on me, the impact an establishment has on me, the impact a plate of food has on me. And so Brian Clough was 100% correct. We forget, up to a certain extent, 90% of what people say to us. But what we will never forget is the emotional impact that individual has had on us. And when people have that ability to touch others, whether it's you with your radio, whether it's people like Brian, whether it's individuals like myself today with those college students. I'm not saying I touched every college student. I tried to, and if I did, then I succeeded. But if 4 or 5 of them walk away with 1 or 2 of those little philosophies, and the most important one I told them today was perfection is lots of little things done well. It's that simple. And to be honest with themselves, what do they really want out of life? It may sound a little grown up, but plot your life in 5-year blocks. Where do I want to be in 5 years? That's what I always did as a child. And as I say, the most important is like I say to my daughter every day of my life. I say to my little girl, nighttime is for creating dreams, and the daytime is for making them come true. And that's what I really believe. We go to bed every night and we dream. But in the daytime, we have to take those dreams and we have to make them come true. Because if you have a dream, then you have a duty and a responsibility to yourself to make it come true. If you don't make it come true, then you're a dreamer, you're a fantasist. And in the end, you'll be unhappy. So be honest with yourself. And through honesty within yourself, then you'll be honest with your dreams. It's what's within you. And find the confidence to bring it out of you and make it come true.
How difficult is it finding people who care as much as you do, who represent you? I mean, you have restaurants in almost every major city, several in London. Here we are today in Nottingham at the Alea Casino. Is it tough finding people with the passion that you had when they were at your stage in that career?
Everyone is an individual. Everyone is different. To expect others to be like you, in my opinion, is wrong. Respect people for who they are and for their capabilities and their strengths. As I always say in life, look at a person's strengths, not their weaknesses. If you understand and see their strengths, then you'll respect their weaknesses. If you only look for their weaknesses, you'll never see their strengths. It's about being honest. And a kitchen is made up of many talents, many individuals. Some people have more talents than others and some have less. But everyone's got their strengths. I remember when I was a young man, a man called Roland Lahore, who was without question one of the great chefs I ever worked with. Not famous, but a great cook. He said, Marco, in a kitchen, you need your donkeys and you need your artists. If they're all artists, they'll argue and fall out with each other. If they're all donkeys, nothing will ever get done. What he was really saying was respect individuals. Everyone plays an important part in the end product. It's all about what you put on the plate. It's about making people's evening. And you know something? Some of the most solid people in my life who surrounded me were never the greatest talents. The people who created the most stability in my life tended to be the donkeys. The ones who didn't have natural talent, the ones who it didn't come natural to, they had to work really hard. They had to give themselves. They had to fight to keep up with the team. They had bigger hearts than people who had natural talent. And sometimes in life, the ones who didn't have the natural talent, they surface. The ones with the natural talent, they just take it for granted and they fade away because they thought they were so special. But one of my favourite stories in life was always the hare and the tortoise. And when I realised in my life that I was a tortoise, not a hare. When I was a young man, I thought I was a hare. But I was a tortoise. And that's the truth.
When did you wake up with this clarity and this philosophical understanding? I mean, were you born with it or did this come later in life?
Well, as a young man, I had my difficulties as a young boy. And I'm sure you know that I lost my mother when I was 6. Not every young boy watches his mother carried away on a stretcher. I did. It took me many, many years to unravel that emotional confusion. And today I still have the pain that I had as a young boy. I just learned to live with it. And when I was in my 30s, I started to walk down that road of self-discovery, to discover myself as a human being. And I'm still walking down that road. And sometimes that road can be very lonely, but you have to be very strong. You have to find that inner strength. That inner strength that was instilled within me by my father. And I've always fought for everything I believe in my life. I've never tried to be controversial. I've never tried to be a star. I've always been Marco. And I've always fought for everything I believed in my life. And I've always put foundation behind my statements. But I started to walk down that road of self-discovery. And I think in life, if you find that inner strength to discover yourself, then you do things for the right reason, not the wrong reason. You fall in love for the right reason, not the wrong reason. You have that opportunity to realize your true potential as a human being. You have the chance of finding happiness, but true happiness, something that comes from within, not something which is superficial. We have a choice in life. We can swim in the shallow end of society, or we can swim in the deep end. It's our choice. And I was asked today by a young student from the local college, what was my greatest achievement? And I'm sure all those students expected me to say winning 3 stars in Michelin. Winning 3 stars in Michelin was a wonderful moment. It was a very, very, very special journey. But let's not forget, the men in rubber have less knowledge than me. So when they gave me 3 stars, no disrespect to them, it doesn't mean that much. Had I been given 3 stars by great chefs, by the Bocuses of this world, by the Alain Chapelles, by the Fernampoins, that's different. Then you join a very special club. And that's why it was so easy to walk away from my achievements. My greatest achievement, as I told the young lady and her fellow students, was to be given respect of my industry, to be accepted by my industry. And that's all I ever craved for, that's all I ever worked for, was to be respected and not to be treated like a second-class citizen. And I fought for everything in my life. And people and the media can criticize me as being controversial, but I can assure you I'm not. I'm just a boy who fights for what he believes in. And I'll always stand up, and you can knock me down, and that's fine. I'll never allow anyone to pick me up. I'll always dust myself down and stand up in my own time and walk straight.
You said something very moving earlier. You said that you conduct yourself today with your mother in your mind's eye, and that's how you operate professionally and personally, and in how you treat other people. I thought that was very moving.
Well, my mother was a very special person, and she, without question, is my moral compass. I mean, you know, and I often speak to my mother, and I ask her what she would expect of me, or what she would think of me, and what decision should I make. And I'm not saying I've got it right, because I haven't. I've made many mistakes, and if I'm brutally honest, I've mostly made more mistakes than most people in my life. But having said that, I've mostly taken more risks than anybody in my life. And so, to make all those mistakes, there is nothing wrong in making mistakes. But you have to be honest with yourself that you have done wrong, you have made mistakes. But through that understanding and acceptance, then you have the opportunity to take the knowledge from that mistake. And it's about fighting for what you believe in. And it's about being correct, it's about being proper, and it's about assisting the next generation, like I did today with, every time I come to Nottingham, I speak to the catering students. And today it may mean little to them, but it's about sowing those seeds. And it's about doing what you do well. I can't make anyone a 3-star chef, but what I can do is instill 3-star Michelin. And the most important line I taught those young students today was, I said, when I was your age, there was 3 things chefs never did. We never turned up late for work. We never walked out. And we never phoned in sick. We did our job. Because when I was a boy, it was a blue-collar trade. We weren't celebrities, we weren't famous. And if I'm brutally honest today, we're still not. We're still cooks. And because people want to show us attention, because people want to interview us, because people want to put us on TV, that's fine. Use those vehicles to deliver your message, to inspire the young who are watching those shows, to make them want to better themselves, because that's what my father and my mother wanted of me, was to better myself as a human being.
What does it feel like when you drive down a street and see your face 10 foot high on the window of a restaurant that you own, or on a billboard where they're promoting you?
I don't like it, because it doesn't represent me. Yes, I accept that I'm a brand, and yes, I accept that I use my brand to assist in earning income. I'm like everybody else in this world. I have to go to work. I wasn't born rich. I wasn't born with privileges, and even if had I been born with all those privileges and true wealth, I'd still go to work, because I think it's hard work that brings out the truth within a person. I think people who think it's beyond them. I think people who think they're too good to do something, that what's the word I'm looking for, is entitlement. No. It doesn't wash with me. You know, I came from a council estate. I went to school with holes in my shoes. I was mostly one of the poorest kids at school, with no mother. I know what it's like to be treated like a second-class citizen. I know what it's like to work hard. And I will work hard until the day I die, because that's my nature. I will share my story. I will inspire the young, because that's what I want to do. Because that's really my job now. I realise my dreams, so therefore I must assist in others in realising their dreams, no matter how big or how small. We have a duty. It's about passing on that baton.
Do you ever consider how magnificent your achievements have been, bearing in mind where you came from, as you just described, and how remarkable it is that you're sat here today in your own restaurant, one of many, which is so rare. Most restaurants close, I think, within the first year. It's got an 80% failure rate. You've been the anomaly. You've been the success.
But remember, not everything I've done in my life has been a success. You know, when you get into a certain position in life, you're big enough to sweep things under the carpet. It's what the corporate world specialises in. Large institutions do it all the time. They sweep things under the carpet. But you know, you have a go. How can you criticise people for having a go? How can you criticise people for employing people, for sharing their knowledge? Certain newspapers love to attack the heroes. Like America, in America, individuals who come from humble beginnings and they succeed in life, they support them, they back them, they admire them. This country, the media want to break us. It's a story. And you know, it saddens me, but you know something? It doesn't dishearten me. You know, my mother called me Marco, and that's the name I'll have until the day I die, and I'll always stand up for what I believe in and for what my mother and father brought me into this world to fight for. And you know, look, okay, I accept I'm not part of the establishment. I'm not that round peg that fits in a square hole. But you know, I am who I am. But you know, my industry, they respect me, they admire me, and they see what I've done for my world. Okay, I'm one little link within a very large chain, but we all contribute. And I was given an opportunity to contribute, and I took full advantage of that. And like today, sitting with the young students humbles me. I was once in their position, trying to work it out, trying to unravel it all, trying to better myself, working hard to achieve success, to suppress one's insecurities. It's that simple.
And here we are today, and you work around the world. I suppose you could argue your greatest achievement was your children, because there you are, you talked to me earlier about what it's like to be woken up in the morning and inspire your children. Has that changed your perspective again? I mean, we talk about what happened to you at 6 years old, and here we are now, you're having to pass that on. How has that changed you?
Well, children do change you. And whether they're your children or they're somebody else's children, they change you. And I cast my mind back many years, and I think of the men and the women who invested in me and believed in me and defended in me. They defended me, you know, when people said ABC, oh, Marco, he's not worth investing in. Mr. Reed, Mr. Lamb, they invested in me, they believed in me. Of course they knew that I was a boy with complications. Of course they knew that I had my internal struggles, my Napoleonic War. But they saw something within me, and they backed me and they forgave me. And that's our job. When we get to a certain age in life and we've realised our dreams, bang, let's inspire the young. Let's take the young by the hand and let's guide them. Because the best advice you can give a young person is make sure you put your career into the hands of somebody who's going to respect you and guide you and protect you and hand you over when your time is up with them.
Do you worry now that there is more child obesity than there's ever been? People are more poorly educated than they've ever been. People in the north are struggling more than they've ever done. I mean, I'm from Nottingham, you're from Leeds, same sort of communities. It's not getting better, is it?
Well, I can't really answer that question for the simple reason is I'm not a politician, I'm a cook.
But you care, don't you? That's the thing.
No, I do care greatly. I mean, if you look at my phone, it's a 10-year-old Nokia.
Yeah, what's going on with that?
I mean, it's, you know, I don't understand laptops, iPads, iPhones, whatever they're called. I don't get them. I've never sent an email in my life. But what I do know about the very young is they spend too much time in their room playing these games. When I was a kid, we had lunch and we were turfed out into the woods and in the fields and we'd play football, and then we had to be back for 5 o'clock at the dinner table with our knees and our hands washed. and we ran around. I mean, I just find that, I don't know. I mean, I just think that, all this electronic stuff really confuses me, and I don't understand it myself. And yeah, I'm a dinosaur, but and I don't mind being a dinosaur, actually. I think it's good to have a few dinosaurs. Like I look at the kids today, they've got these iPhones and these laptops and these iPads or whatever they're called. And I mean, yeah, they're wonderful things. But I think young people have been exposed to too much too young. So they're growing up too quick. But where's the emotional growth? So there's this imbalance. So part of their brain is 20 years old when they're 16 because they've been exposed to so much stuff, but their emotional growth is 13. And I think this is the imbalance. And there's that sense of entitlement, which I don't understand. I was a kiddie, we used to do bob a job. If I wanted to go fishing this weekend, I had to do bob a job to buy my maggots, to buy my hooks, to buy my fishing line, And in many ways, the world we live in today is a better world, but in many ways, it's a sadder world. I mean, if I think of the world that I live in now, that lack of community is gone. I remember being a kid when someone died in the street. We had a whip round for a reef, and all the families would walk to the garden gate to show their respects. Today, where is it? When my mother died, my neighbours took me and my brothers in because my father couldn't cope. Obviously went down the pub and drowned his sorrows. But Mr. and Mrs. McCarthy for 2 or 3 days looked after us. The world has changed, and the world that I came from was quite a romantic world, even though we were poor. The world today it's superficial, it's materialistic. I don't really understand it.
And again, just because we have 400 channels doesn't mean there's anything worth watching, does it?
I don't watch TV.
At all?
I don't watch TV at all. I'll see TV when I walk into the bar next door, or I'll watch a movie when I'm on a plane. But I don't have a TV at home. I mean, I think they were rather confused when they sent me a bill for a TV license. I told them I don't have a TV. Weird.
Did they accept your apology when you didn't pay it?
Well, I think they were confused, a little like myself. No, I don't get TVs. I don't understand them. I sort of... For me, a TV is the modern day church. I prefer to go to the cathedral, light my candle and say my prayers and leave a few quid in the box. I don't want to be... I just find TV weird, really. Even though I do TV, I know that sounds like the contradiction. But I use TV as a vehicle to try and inspire young people who watch my shows.
And very finally, is it fun being Marco Pierre White? Here we are sat having a glass of wine in your restaurant, of which you have many. You've got a family, you've got a partner, you've got memories, you've evolved as a human being. Is it fun being you?
I've never asked myself whether it's fun being Marco, but it's a full-time job. It's 24/7 being myself. It really is, and I think life's all about being yourself. It's not about trying to be something you're not. And as I said to you earlier, my talents are always greater than my ambition. And that's the problem with the world that we live in today. People's ambition are greater than their talents. And let's not forget, ambition is the most dangerous occupation in the world. It may seem rather strange, me speaking about ambition, but I was never ambitious. And if I was, it was by default. Just by doing my job well.
Is it, I guess, then harnessing that, and the more talented you are, the more disciplined you have to be ultimately?
Discipline is the key to doing your job well. Staying focused. Having the confidence to make yourself vulnerable, to allow the talents within you to be released. That's the key.
Meeting you today has been a greater thrill than doing this interview, because I've loved it. I thank you for your time. You've been so kind and gracious, and this will stay with me for a long time. Marco Pierre White, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. You're very kind, and thank you for your time.